Sometimes, the line between love and manipulation is so thin, it's almost invisible. What feels like concern may actually be a form of control. What sounds like affection might be a carefully played emotional game. And the scariest part, manipulation isn't always loud or violent. In fact, it often shows up wearing the mask of love. Someone can manipulate you with a gentle voice. They can make you feel guilty, not by yelling, but by making you feel like you're the one who's always wrong. They don't need to raise their voice or cause physical harm, because emotional control is often more powerful when it's subtle. And the heartbreaking truth is this: the person being manipulated is often the last one to realize it. Whether it's a romantic partner, a friend, a parent, or even a boss, when a relationship becomes a tool for one person to gain power over another, it's no longer about love or care, it's about control. So how can you tell if you're in a manipulative relationship? Here are 5 common signs that might indicate manipulation is at play, along with gentle ways you can begin to reclaim your power and restore your peace. 1. You always feel like you're the one to blame, even when you're not. One of the most subtle, yet deeply damaging signs of manipulation is this constant, creeping feeling that everything is your fault. Somehow, no matter what happens, it always circles back to you. Their bad mood, your fault, their silence, you must have done something wrong, their jealousy, their anger, their insecurities. Again, it must be because of something you said or didn't say. Manipulators are experts at guilt tripping. They rarely raise their voice. Instead, they twist conversations in a way that makes you question yourself. They make it seem like your words, your tone, your behavior, even your intentions were hurtful or wrong. So you end up apologizing over and over again just to keep the peace, but peace that only exists when you take the blame isn't real peace. You might hear phrases like, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't act this way. You always hurt me and never even realize it. You've changed. You're not who you used to be." These aren't just words, they are emotional weapons. Each one is designed to make you second-guess your worth, your truth, your reality. And here's the thing: love is not supposed to make you feel like you're always walking on eggshells. True love doesn't demand endless apologies from one side while the other refuses to look in the mirror. Healthy relationships are built on shared accountability, on both people being willing to reflect, to grow, and to own their mistakes, not just one person absorbing all the blame while the other hides behind emotional manipulation. So if you often find yourself feeling like you're the villain in your own story, it might be time to pause, step back, and ask, am I being loved? Or am I being controlled through guilt? 2. You're constantly walking on eggshells. One of the clearest signs that something is deeply wrong in a relationship is when you find yourself constantly filtering your words, watching your tone, or editing your actions, not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of upsetting them, fear of making them angry, fear of triggering the silent treatment, the guilt trips, or the cold, distant silence that follows even the smallest disagreement. You start to shrink. You hide parts of yourself. You silence your opinions, hold back your emotions, and suppress your needs, all just to keep the peace. Maybe you stop talking about things that matter to you because they roll their eyes or make you feel silly. Maybe you no longer do the things you love because they make you feel guilty for enjoying anything that doesn't revolve around them. Or maybe you just wake up every day with this quiet, heavy feeling in your chest, like you're always one wrong word away from chaos. That's not love, that's emotional fear. And here's the hardest truth: you didn't become too sensitive or too dramatic overnight. You've been conditioned slowly, subtly, to believe that you are the problem, that if only you could be more agreeable, more quiet, more easygoing, then things would be okay. But what's really happening is this: You are surviving in a space where emotional safety does not exist. Manipulators don't always yell or threaten. In fact, many use silence as a weapon. They punish with withdrawal sigh instead of speak. They make sarcastic comments instead of honest communication. They leave you in a constant state of guessing, like you're in a game with no rules, where you're always losing. And over time, this dynamic wears you down. You begin to doubt your worth. You forget how it feels to speak freely. You become smaller, just to fit into the space they've made for you. But real love makes you feel safe to expand. To speak, to feel, to be your full, honest, vibrant self without fear. 3. They make you doubt yourself. Gaslighting is one of the most dangerous and most subtle forms of emotional manipulation. It's not just about lying. It's about redefining your reality until you even begin to question what's real and what's not. At its core, gaslighting is when someone makes you doubt your own memory, your feelings, your instincts, even your sanity. It's a slow, calculated erosion of your inner truth. You may hear things like, "That never happened." You're remembering it wrong. Why are you being so dramatic? You're too sensitive. You always overreact. You're just imagining things again. At first, you might defend yourself. You might say, "No, I remember it clearly." You might feel confused, but still trust your gut. But over time, something starts to shift. The more they deny, the more you begin to doubt. You start thinking, "Maybe I really am overreacting. Did I make it up? I don't even trust my own memory anymore. Maybe I am the problem." And that is exactly what a manipulator wants, because when you stop trusting yourself, you become easier to control. You begin to rely on their version of events. You look to them for clarity instead of listening to your own heart. Gaslighting is not just emotional manipulation. It's emotional disorientation. It keeps you spinning in circles, second-guessing everything, constantly apologizing for things you didn't even do wrong. And the damage it causes isn't just in the moment. It builds over time until one day, you no longer recognize the person you were before. But here's the truth you need to hear. If someone constantly makes you feel crazy, confused, or unsure of what's real, it's not because you're weak. It's because someone has been slowly, intentionally distorting your sense of truth. And that is not love. Love doesn't erase your voice. Love doesn't rewrite your memories. Love makes you feel seen, not silenced. Heard, not dismissed. Valid, not unstable. 4. Their love feels conditional, like you have to earn it. One of the quietest forms of emotional manipulation is when love is used not as something to give, but as something to withhold. Instead of being a source of comfort and safety, love becomes a tool, a bargaining chip, a reward for good behavior, a punishment for stepping out of line. In a healthy relationship, love is unconditional. It doesn't mean we tolerate disrespect, but it does mean that affection, warmth, and presence aren't dangled above our heads like a prize to win. But with manipulators, love comes with rules often unspoken, always shifting. They might be sweet and loving one moment, and the next, completely cold and distant. You never really know which version of them you're going to get, and that unpredictability keeps you on edge. You start to notice a pattern. When you please them, agree with them, or give up parts of yourself to make them feel secure, they're affectionate. But when you express your needs, disagree, or simply try to hold on to your own life, they withdraw. Not always with anger. Sometimes it's just silence, coldness, indifference, a heavy tension in the air. You might hear phrases like, "I did everything for you, and this is how you treat me." If you loved me, you wouldn't need anyone else. I guess you just don't care like I do. After all I've done, you still hurt me like this. What they're really saying is, my love is conditional. You only get it when you behave the way I want. And slowly, you begin to internalize that message. You start walking on that tightrope, constantly adjusting who you are just to keep their affection. You begin to feel like love is something fragile, something you could lose at any moment, like you have to earn it, prove yourself, perform for it. But love, real love, doesn't work that way. Love is not a transaction. It's not a reward for obedience. It's not something we should have to beg for or chase after with fear in our chest. True love is safe. It's steady. Even in disagreement. A T doesn't disappear when you set boundaries. Or when you speak your truth. A T doesn't turn cold when you choose to be honest. If someone makes you feel like their love is something you constantly have to work for, it's not love. It's control, wearing a mask of affection. 5. You don't recognize yourself anymore. Perhaps the most painful part of being in a manipulative relationship is not the argument, not even the silence, the guilt trips, or the gaslighting. It's the slow, quiet disappearance of yourself. One day, you wake up and it hits you. You're not the same person anymore. You don't laugh as freely. You don't dream like you used to. The spark in your eyes, the one your friends used to love, has dimmed. You've stopped doing the things that once made you feel alive, whether that's reading, dancing, painting, traveling, or just spending time with the people who know and love you. Why? Because somewhere along the way, you were made to believe that your joy was inconvenient, that your voice was too much, that your needs were burdensome. So piece by piece, you began to shrink yourself to make room for their comfort. You canceled plans to avoid their jealousy. You stopped calling your friends because it always led to tension. You held back your opinions because it's not worth the fight, you told yourself. Maybe it's better if I just stay quiet. And then the cruelest part, you start believing that maybe this is all you deserve, that maybe love isn't supposed to feel free. Maybe this is just how relationships work. They've convinced you subtly, over time, that you're lucky to have them, that no one else would love you this way, that leaving would mean being alone, lost, or worse, unloved. But here's the truth that breaks the spell. You're never too much. You're never unworthy. You are simply loving someone who needed you to be small in order for them to feel big. And that is not love, because healthy love doesn't ask you to become less. A T doesn't isolate you. A T doesn't feed on your silence. A T doesn't punish your passion or dim your light. True love supports your growth. A T holds space for your voice. A T cheers you on as you rise, even if that means rising beyond them. And if you've lost yourself, you can find your way back, not all at once, but step by step, breath by breath, choice by choice, because the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. And that love, that's the one worth reclaiming. You deserve a relationship that feels safe, not scary. Everyone makes mistakes. No relationship is perfect. There will always be moments of misunderstanding, hurt, and growing pains. That's part of two people learning how to love each other better. But when those moments become patterns of control, of guilt, of shrinking yourself to fit someone else's comfort, that's not love. That's emotional manipulation, dressed up as care. Real love doesn't make you afraid to speak your truth. It doesn't ask you to betray yourself to keep the peace. A T doesn't punish you with silence or affection withheld like a prize you have to earn. True love doesn't isolate you from your friends, make you second-guess your memories, or make you feel like you're always at fault. Love doesn't require you to become someone else just to be worthy of staying. You deserve a connection where you are safe to be seen, where your voice matters, where your joy is celebrated, not questioned. Healing from this kind of manipulation isn't instant. It's messy. It's scary. It might take every ounce of courage you have to leave or to stay gone. But awareness is the first breath of freedom. That moment when you whisper to yourself, "This isn't what I deserve," is the moment everything can begin to change. You are not broken. You are not weak for loving someone who couldn't love you properly. You are not alone. And most of all, you are worthy of a love that feels like peace, not pressure. Like home, not a war zone. A love that lets you grow, speak, shine, and exist in full without apology.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.